these cards that you can get in all sorts of places. They're called speed sounds if you want to Google them. You've got the grapheme on the one side, and then on the other side, you've got the grapheme being the little picture and a little rhyme. That rhymes to help them with their handwriting, believe it or not, around the apple, down the leaf. So if you do want to practice the letter formation, this is quite useful. But the idea of these is, in that order that's on your sheet, you teach them SATP. So they're not in the right order because I've been shuffling with them. But it's literally, speedily. That says, my turn, your turn, my turn, your turn. Okay, and that goes back to that, playing the sounds, having fun with it. Can you use your voice? Because the way you make sounds depends on where they appear in the word. You've got to have and use your. Okay, so my turn, your turn, my turn, your turn. And it's not because that's how many phonemes in two. We need one, my turn, your turn. My turn, your turn. How many phonemes did you just hear? Oh, how many graphemes were there? One. What was the grapheme? That's the grapheme. Lovely. Okay, next one. My turn. Your turn. My turn. I didn't say my, your turn. My turn. Your turn. This drives me mad. Lots of things drive me mad. This is one of them. Listening to the radio last night, stuck in traffic, shouting at it. The word is thing. Not think. I haven't brought anything for my lunch. No, you're quite right, you haven't. You haven't brought anything for your lunch. So, I think, and the ditty to go with that is a little sound on the back of it, a little rhyme. I think, I stink. So there's a little rat in there, or a little mouse, or a little gerbil or something, saying, I think, I stink. So when you start getting onto these digraph two letters, making one sound. When you get onto these digraphs, you've got a little rhyme on the back of them, so you'd introduce it to them. My turn. Your turn. My turn. Your turn. Just like the queen. Your turn. And so on. Just need to make food stuff. So that says I think I stink. My turn. I think I stink. Your turn. I think I stink. Okay, you may. So when they're reading and they get to that sound, that grapheme, I should say, you can then get your little laminate and say, that's I think I stink. And then they'll go, oh yeah, or if they're writing, you'll say, you need, sorry, thank you, I think I stink. So that little rhyme will filter into their already crammed brains and help them with the spelling. Okay, so that's how you use those. But the idea is, if you've got a bank of them, you use them rapidly, hence speed sounds. So if you look at that those first 5 sets in phase 2, you can see that within just the first 2 sets, as soon as those first 2 sets of graphemes are recognised, they can make all sorts of CVC words and use and apply that on the set and rhyme. Okay, and while they're practising that grapheme phoneme correspondence, knowing that that grapheme is says often, usually, sometimes says because it doesn't always, does it? Like in the word dodge, it almost disappears and turns into a sound. So often, usually, sometimes that says and they can start making lots of words with it. But then also literally to show these to you, they also need to be acquiring sight vocabulary, flashcards as they were called back in the day. So lots of these words you can't sound them out, you just have to know what they say. You just have to be able to read them. Just as I know I know that says two. You don't have to go into the ins and outs, so that's closed vowel, it just says two. Okay? You can't sound that out to her, what? You just can't do it. Okay? So there are some words just need to know. So again, they might be sent home on a list, you might be asked to play bingo games with them, they might be the words that are stuck around your kitchen or in the bathroom or whatever. They just need to, whilst they're still acquiring this grapheme phoneme correspondence, mixing them and matching them, how many phonemes can I hear, what graphemes do I need, put your speed buttons underneath it all, lovely, lovely, lovely. They also need that instant recall of certain words. They're the words that are most often used in the English language and then the glue that holds the sentence together. I've just spoken to you really quickly about what a digraph is. It's something like, not so much, but that would be a digraph. There's absolutely no way. If they knew that that was k, 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 and that was, it's not her. Okay, you can't put k together to make ch, can you? Okay, so that is, they learn that one really quickly. So those are digraphs. If you've got 3 letters, it's a trigraph and so on. Okay, if you've got 2 graphemes which are identical to the double F, that's just a constant plus a letter string that you won't worry about. Okay, so they've got all those things that we just talked about, are not just for reading and they're not just for writing. They do that, don't they? They dovetail, you can't have one without the other. So all that's going on, they're learning to read and write at a very simple level and hopefully doing it in a way that's non-threatening. It's all about how you sell it, isn't it? It's about how you write it up. And while that's going on, back to the systematic approach. Spoke to you about the systematic approach to teaching phonics. That's it. Speed buttons, graphemes, phonemes, all the rest of it. But then you want to give them books, don't you? Not just odd words, not just sentences. That said, we've got some lovely sentences, but when this is phase 4, I think, when you get to phase 4, you've acquired those skills. We've got this for lots of the phases. For instance, all of these sentences they can decode, they can read, using the skills that they've acquired in the previous phases and matched to a picture. So it's about building it step by step by step. So you will now find that books that go home to your children are bounded. They'll have a little sticker on them. Some of them don't have a sticker because the publishers have already put a little thumbnail. You might see like a semicircle. Okay, but they've all got a sticker or colour on them. I just picked up the wrong ones. Right. And they've got a colour on them, which helps us to realise how they're graded. Okay, so which skills they are developing at that point in time, then we drop them into the right colour band. So my message to you is, don't worry about whether it says stage 1, stage 6, stage 10, doesn't matter. What matters is that they should be sticking to a colour band consistently for a certain amount of time until we're happy that all of the skills that they need are in place, and then we move them to the next colour band. Okay, so it's the whole point of book banding is that children get variety. It's not just, as it was many years ago, Peter and Jane books. It's not just, I always get these wrong, even though I've been using them for years. Biff, help me out, Chip, Fluffy. I want to call them Chippy and Lord knows what. So it's not just those, it's a variety of tests. And that it is systematic, it is finely graded, it is done for a reason. And I'll show that to you now. And it's skill-based. It's not just about can they read the words accurately. That's the simple view of reading. Can I read that word? Do I know what it says? Yes, you might know what it says, but the complex view of reading is, can I make sense of what I'm reading? Can I connect that to other experiences? And so on. So are they developing this skill? And there are a whole load of books you can have a little look at if you want to, but this is a perfect example. Back in the day, pre-book band, if you were just using Oxford Reading Tree as your reading skill, reading scheme, this is a stage 4. All 3 of these books are from stage 4 in Oxford Reading Tree. But you should be able to see at a glance, they've got 3 different colours on them. So it's the Institute of Education in London, working quite closely with Reading Recovery, which is from Australia, and in turn Oxford Brookes University, in catch-up literacy. They have got a very, very, very tight process of screening these books and giving them a readability. So what skills do the children need in order to be able to read that book? where do those skills fit and so on. So if you had a child years ago who wasn't using book bands but was just reading Oxford Reading Tree, they might have brought that book home one day and got on okay with it, and it's stage 4. Prove it, stage 4, it's like a magician. And then the following week, they get this book, which is also stage 4, but you can see it's got a green sticker, and they struggle with that. Oh, it's not right. And then the following week, all is well with the world because it's another stage 4, but this one's okay. They manage that. Well, that just goes to show that when the publishers produced those books, they didn't really quite get what reading was all about. It was all very well intentioned, but actually some of those books were more difficult than others, but they were in the same stage. So what we now do is, and staff should be doing, is looking at the colour band. What skills is your child developing? What phrases, letters and sounds are they working in school? It should all kind of dovetail together. Okay, so that said, sometimes you might get a text which you think, oh, it's really easy. And I know it happens with my nephew. I have to keep going about my nephew because, as I told you, I'm not allowed children. Lord knows how they turn out. But my nephew's not particularly interested in reading, but he's okay. And my mum can't help herself when she picks him up from school on a Monday, and that's the day that his book bag has changed. He's got 2 new books in there, and you can see my mum having to sit on her hands to stop picking the book up. But he just reads them. But that's because school want him to get this sense of success and achievement, and then he might get another one that's a little bit more challenging. And also, even if you might think that they're constantly getting a book that's too easy, then you are right, do challenge us. If it's really not interesting them and it's too easy and they're completely disengaged, obviously you need to speak to somebody. But we obviously make our professional judgment when we give the children these books, and the way that a child reads in school and the way that a child performs, for want of a better word, in school can be very, very different to the way that they are at home. So do bear that in mind, okay? And you might often find that, and not often, you might find that if a child is sent a non-fiction book, it might be from a slightly easier band because of the content and the other skills that they need to develop. Okay, so they might be sent a non-fiction book from a slightly easier band just because that content floats their boat, or you might be asked to focus on a particular skill. So book bands there is a system in place. It's not just random. Once we feel that they're confident in working in a certain band, we then move them on to the next one. This is now just the next 5 minutes or so. I promise I'll whip through this. If you've got a child who's at the early stages of reading, they could be 3, they could be 8. It just depends on your child's development. This is what I would consider good practice. And I don't mean good practice for a professional, I mean good practice full stop. So for instance, I'll just use these 3D. Let's get a trick question. Is the vocabulary in each of these books going to be similar? No, because that's about a hot air balloon. That's about everybody getting wet. Unless they were up in the air and the heavens opened, they're not going to get wet while in a hot air balloon. That said, somebody could be getting married in a hot air balloon and then the heavens opened. The point I'm trying to make is each of these texts will have vocabulary which is specific to them. So if that child isn't familiar with a wedding, they're not going to be able to use that knowledge of how language works to make sensible guesses at words that they encounter.